Hey, how's it going? Today's Friday, January 12th, 2024. This is the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. My name's Steven Zeiner, and I want the focus today to be on Greg Beard, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Stronghold Digital Mining. He made an appearance on CNBC's Crypto World program earlier today, and he not only spoke about the potential impact of a spot Bitcoin ETF to the Bitcoin ecosystem as a whole. He spoke, I think, quite intelligently and quite persuasively about the impact of a spot Bitcoin ETF on Bitcoin mining companies such as Stronghold Digital Mining. So I'm going to place a link to that interview in the description to today's broadcast. I really want to encourage you to check it out. So I'm going to keep this broadcast really short so that you'll feel somewhat encouraged to say, okay, I'll go check out what Greg had to say. Listen, I really enjoy hearing from Greg. I really appreciate the leadership. I appreciate the insight. I appreciate all of the context and color that Greg brings to this type of conversation. And I'm incredibly proud of the fact that CNBC is choosing to host Greg and to introduce not just Greg, but Stronghold Digital Mining to a wider audience of potential investors who may very well be interested in turbocharging their exposure to Bitcoin prices. Because I'm paraphrasing what Greg said, but that is ultimately what a company like Stronghold Digital Mining represents. It's a way to turbocharge your exposure to Bitcoin price. Now, that works beautifully to the upside, but it can also work quite painfully, as we discovered today, to the downside. So shares of Stronghold Digital Mining were down, quite a bit, over $1 a share. Not just Stronghold Digital Mining, it was really the entire publicly traded Bitcoin, mining ecosystem, which once again got pummeled by the market. Not a very fun experience, to say the least. I'm looking at the Zeiner.com, Stronghold Digital Mining shareholder dashboard. I see the Bitcoin network hash rate at about 700 and hash prices at about 5.9 cents. And I see a price of Bitcoin that's just under $43,000 a coin. It's $42,771. What has happened? What happened to the price of Bitcoin? I thought that a spot Bitcoin ETF meant that's it. Now the floodgates will open. The price of Bitcoin will surge. A brand new bull market will emerge. Well, I'm still very optimistic that if we were to look 6 months down the road, so to speak, from today, I am very optimistic that the price of Bitcoin will be materially higher than it is right now. I don't have a precise reason for why we're seeing this much volatility in the price of Bitcoin. Certainly, there may have been people who thought, I'm going to buy Bitcoin in anticipation of a spot Bitcoin ETF potentially being approved. Hey, once it's approved, I'm going to flip my Bitcoin and be done with it. I don't understand aspects of that mindset merely because I would imagine that for a lot of individuals and institutions, when you acquire some Bitcoin, the goal isn't to flip your Bitcoin inside of a couple of days, but to rather really hold on to it and allow time to work in one's favor as you see the price slowly but surely go up over time, or at least that would be the hope. I can tell you that I would be probably institutionalized had I flipped my Bitcoin from way back when and seen what has transpired with the price of Bitcoin over the many years. And I think you'd feel the same way. I mean, wouldn't any of us be like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I made a small profit, and yet I gave up what really amounted to, exposure to one of the most amazing asset classes on planet Earth, at least certainly in my lifetime. So that also brings me to my rationale and the way I look at holding shares of Stronghold Digital Mining. Again, yes, it's a flippable security. I know some of you have very, very successfully really just shoveled cash out of the market by flipping shares of Stronghold Digital Mining. I'm really interested, from my perspective, in kind of seeing how this story evolves and develops over time. There are certain tax advantages, at least certainly here in the United States, to not necessarily, incurring short-term capital gains, which are taxed, right, at a very different rate than long-term capital gains. Be that as it may, I am still very confident and comfortable with my exposure to Stronghold Digital Mining and my turbocharged exposure, both on the upside and to the downside to the price of Bitcoin. Let's see what transpires over the weekend. I have some interesting news. Here in Pennsylvania, we are expected to get some fairly cold temperatures. Maybe not as cold as during Winter Storm Elliott, but it's going to be pretty cold. And I'm seeing forecasts that talk about maybe upwards of a foot of snow. Let's see how our portions of the PJM grid hold up. I did see an article that's already questioning whether or not ERCOT, which is the grid operator in the Texas region, how it's going to hold up with some evidently frigid temperatures that are forecasted to impact Texas, I guess, like right now in through the weekend. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'm not interested in seeing people get hurt or harmed by cold weather. I'm of the belief that we as shareholders of Stronghold Digital Mining cannot control the weather. But to the extent that we can play a constructive role in helping to support the grid by diverting 100% of the electricity that's being generated at Scrubgrass and at Panther Creek to the PJM grid to help support that grid, and in so doing generate very useful revenue for this company, for this business, I'm all for that. And I'm imagining you are as well. Okay, don't forget, please check out that interview. Click on the link. I think you got to kind of wade through the first part of Crypto World to finally get to where Greg's at. He's kind of there towards the end, but it's well worth it. Okay, let's stay positive. Let's be great, and we'll see each other again next week.